When Ahmed received his first salary, he felt like he had conquered the world. He held the envelope tightly in his hands as he walked home, his heart filled with excitement. For years, he had dreamed about this moment, buying new clothes, upgrading his phone, eating at fancy restaurants, and finally enjoying life. But as soon as he reached home, he opened a small metal box hidden inside his cupboard and placed the entire salary inside it. No spending, he whispered to himself. I must save everything. Days passed, then weeks. Ahmed stopped going out with friends. He ignored family dinners at restaurants. He avoided buying new shoes even when the old ones started tearing apart. Every month, his salary went straight into that metal box. He felt proud. He believed he was being responsible. One evening, his grandfather noticed him stitching his old worn-out bag. "Why don't you buy a new one?" his grandfather asked gently. Ahmed smiled. "I'm saving money, Dada. I don't want to waste it." His grandfather nodded, but didn't say anything. A few days later, Ahmed's friends invited him to a small trip outside the city. He refused immediately. "Too expensive," he said. That night, his grandfather called him into his room. The old wooden room smelled of books and memories. His grandfather pulled out a small dusty suitcase from under the bed. "Sit," he said. Ahmed sat quietly. The grandfather opened the suitcase. Inside were old photographs, train tickets, a faded watch, and some handwritten letters. "What is all this?" Ahmed asked. "These," the grandfather said softly, "are my savings." Ahmed looked confused. "But these aren't money." The grandfather picked up a photograph. It showed a young man smiling beside a river. "That was me," he said. "I had just started working. I used my first salary to travel with my friends. We had very little money, but we laughed all day. One of those friends passed away a few years later. That trip became priceless." He then picked up an old train ticket. "This ticket is from the day I traveled to see your grandmother for the first time after our marriage. I could have saved that money, but I chose to create a memory." Ahmed listened silently. The grandfather held up the faded watch. "I bought this after my first promotion, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to celebrate my hard work. Every time I look at it, I remember that day." He paused, then looked at Ahmed. "Do you know what I regret?" he asked. Ahmed shook his head. "I regret the times I only saved money and forgot to live." The room became quiet. The grandfather continued, "Money is important. Saving is important. But if you only save and never live, one day you will open your box and find nothing but numbers." Ahmed felt something shift inside him. The next morning, he opened his metal box. The money was there, untouched, growing every month. But suddenly, it didn't feel as satisfying as before. That weekend, he did something different. He bought new shoes, not expensive but comfortable. He took his parents out for dinner. He accepted his friend's next invitation for a short trip. He even bought his grandfather a warm shawl. When he handed it to him, the grandfather smiled. "Spending money?" he teased. Ahmed smiled back. "No, I'm saving memories." Months passed. Ahmed still saved money, but now he balanced it. Half went into savings. Half went into living, experiences, learning, and moments with loved ones. Years later, Ahmed became successful. He had investments, savings, and stability. But more importantly, he had albums full of photographs, stories to tell, and memories that made him smile. One day, his young nephew came to him and said, "I'm saving all my pocket money. I never spend it." Ahmed smiled and brought out a small box, not of cash, but filled with photos, tickets, and souvenirs. He repeated his grandfather's words. "Don't just save money, save moments. Because money stored in a box stays there, but memories stay in your heart forever." And that day, Ahmed realized the most powerful lesson his grandfather had taught him. Saving money builds security, but spending it wisely builds a life. And a life full of memories is the richest life of all. Years passed, and Ahmed's life changed in ways he never imagined. He now had a stable job, a growing bank balance, and responsibilities that came with adulthood. Bills, deadlines, family needs, everything demanded attention. Slowly, without realizing it, Ahmed started slipping back into his old habit. He saved more and lived less. He postponed vacations. He skipped family gatherings. He delayed meeting old friends. "I'll enjoy later," he kept telling himself. "First, I must secure everything." One evening, while organizing his cupboard, Ahmed found the same metal box he had used years ago. It was heavier now, filled with cash envelopes and documents. He smiled for a moment, but then something felt strange. The box was full, but his heart felt empty. At that moment, his phone rang. It was his childhood friend, Bilal. "Ahmed, we're all meeting tomorrow after years." "You must come," Bilal insisted. Ahmed looked at his laptop, then at his files. "I have work. Maybe next time," he replied. There was silence on the other end. Then Bilal spoke softly. "We always say next time, but sometimes next time never comes." The words hit him harder than expected. That night, Ahmed sat with his grandfather's old suitcase. He opened it again. The photographs, tickets, and memories were still there. But this time, he noticed something else. None of those memories were expensive. They were simple, but meaningful. The next day, Ahmed made a decision. He closed his laptop. He turned off notifications. He went to meet his friends. The laughter felt familiar. They shared stories, joked about old times, and took photos together. Ahmed realized how much he had missed. On his way home, he stopped by a small shop and bought an ice cream, something he hadn't done in years. It tasted like childhood. When he reached home, he opened the metal box again. This time, he removed one envelope and placed it aside. He labeled it, "For living." From that day onward, Ahmed divided his income into 3 parts: savings for security, investments for the future, and experiences for life. Months later, Ahmed's nephew visited him again. "Uncle, I saved a lot of money," he said proudly. Ahmed smiled and asked, "What did you do with it?" "I kept it safe," the boy replied. Ahmed handed him 2 jars, one labeled Save and the other labeled Live. "Fill both," Ahmed said, "because if one is empty, life feels incomplete." The boy nodded, not fully understanding, just like Ahmed once didn't. That evening, Ahmed looked at the sky and remembered his grandfather. He finally understood the deeper lesson. Money protects your future, but moments create your happiness. And when both walk together, life becomes truly rich. Ahmed closed the suitcase gently and whispered, "Thank you, Dada. I'm still learning."